But the downside is that you do have to navigate displacement pressure. No city has exactly gotten it right. There's no magic wand. We know what's needed. And so affordability has been one of our top priorities as a council.
We think more students engaged with local politics.
Absolutely. There's so much attention that's given to national politics, but it's your local government that has a decision on your day-to-day streets that you walk. You do have to navigate displacement pressures and what that means. And so, no city has exactly gotten it right. There's no magic wand for it, or silver bullet. But we know what's needed. And so affordability has been one of our top priorities as a council. We passed a number of land use reforms to unlock housing supply, and we've seen rents go down the last few years. So that's promising. But there's still a lot more than needed. Don't be shy, yo.
I have a question. So right now, I am part of the college student committee at the city council, and there's a lot going on how we can get students more civically engaged with the local government. So as being part of the local government, we think it would be a good idea to get more students engaged with local politics or something, rather than doing national politics.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's so much attention that's given to national politics, but in reality, it's your local government that has a decision, has a say on your day to day. So from the moment you turn on your lights to the streets that you walk on or drive on, to the libraries that you visit, those are all governed by your local council. And so there's a lot of power in that, and there's a lot at stake with it too. I've seen, the city used to have a college student advisory. Do we still have that?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything recently.
We do.
Okay. Well, that would be one thing I would recommend, is joining that commission and being a voice for your community on that. But also just engaging in local elections. We just had one. The next one will, of course, be primaries in March. We might have another special election in May, depending on what petitions get on the ballot. So just staying plugged in and
being involved in politics can be really hard for your mental. So what do you do to keep yourself above water?
yeah, well, I will tell you, today's not a good day. It is.
We'll try to help you with that.
Yes.
This will be the place to
Uplifting, I appreciate it. No, I think that for any elected official, what's top of mind for us is just safety and security. We've seen a rise in political violence across the board. And as a result, I think anyone that is in politics or has a public life is rightfully, fearful. And I think that's for a number of reasons. It's the prevalence of guns in our community contributes to that. But also just, we're in such divisive times. Issues are highly polarized, and you wouldn't even think we're polarizing issues, like bike lanes. That's a polarizing issue. So that's a local politics joke.
But it's polar, so that'll be polar.
Yes, there you go. It's literally the
Very polarized.
But mental health to me became one of the areas that I've had the pleasure of working on from a policy perspective during the pandemic, because I took office in the pandemic. And I led an initiative to train 1,000 Austinites on mental health first aid, very similar to CPR, but you can get trained up and certified on how to recognize when someone, your colleague, your neighbor, your family member, or friend, when they're experiencing a mental health crisis, how you can respond so that we can be better neighbors and we can be more helpful to each other. And that was a big success. We were able to train over 1,000 people in less than 6 months. And but on a personal level, I have deleted the X app for my phone, so
Congratulations.
tremendously.
Yeah.
Although I know it's really bad. Like, for example, this morning I had one of my close friends reach out and was like, "Hey, I see they're really coming after you on X. Just thinking of you." So when I get personal outreaches, then I know, like, okay, yeah, whatever's going on is like through that.
I might actually just extend that question of mental health, as that has been an ongoing topic with this group over the last number of months that we've been having this speaker series. So thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for your response. And I might just extend that to Manny and to Jacob as well. Like, how are you all managing mental health along with the community work that you're doing?
What I would say is that, to Mayor Pro Tem's kind of comment, is that I have solace and faith in our local elected folks who are doing the best work in terms of representing the needs of our folks, of our community, right? And so, like, when I can get the anxiety and dread that comes with following, and I'm not on X, but any other kind of social media feed that you pick, I take solace when I hear Mayor Pro Tem speak at these events, when I hear the mayor speak at other events, when I hear school board members trying to think thoughtfully, how do we meet the moment in terms of a budget shortfall? Seeing those individuals who are doing the thankless work of public service, in a way, because they authentically care, is it gives me kind of a mental, relief in terms of, okay, I guess I should say, it gives me hope for all that we hope to achieve, at least locally.
Jacob?
I only have like one social media that I'm fairly active on. So again, to like stay out of social media, I try not to read the news too much just because there's a lot of news that's not really worth my time. But I would say that like definitely taking care of yourself is important. Trying to stay active, and trying to understand that a lot of people are just coming at this, they're going through their own situations. So being open and vulnerable to hearing from other people helps a lot because you get a little bit more humanity out of them. And I think that's something that gives me hope. It's like, we're all still humans. We're not a bunch of robots out here doing things. There are robots doing things, but we're not the only ones that are out here. And so trying to be more relatable to people is a very helpful way to get that. Like this exercise, talking about what I do makes me feel good because it's like, yeah, this is why I do it, because you get people excited.
I'm curious, where do y'all get your information? Like, where do you find reviews?
For me, it's like online, either through mainly through YouTube. I like to say that at YouTube, say YouTube University. Well, I do have a cultural background. Like, I am originally from Angola, so basically that kind of like makes me more aware, more than I should be. Actually, sometimes it feels overwhelming, because I'm pitching in with news from Angola, from Nigeria, from South Sudan, from, Mexico and so forth. So I feel like finding multiple sources, is kind of what I do on a daily basis, just to get that like unbiased and kind of neutral perspective.
Very good. So YouTube, huh?
Yeah. No, YouTube. Yeah.
Where else? Yeah.
I'm really partial to like news aggregators. So like Ground News, what they do is they try and lay all news sites out and then like give them what political bias they have, who's their donors, what's this, and they try and find all the things. So I do my best to read from both sides, perspectives in the middle, and use summaries. So that's what I use for like actual news, and Instagram for like instant updates. I follow like a couple of pages that do like geopolitics, updating about this thing happened in China, this happened here stateside, this happened in Afghanistan, this happened in Africa.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I get my news. And Instagram, especially X, tend to be like the fastest. So like news breaks on X most of the time. That's what I typically see. So that's how I get my updates, and I try and get like, actual resources from Ground News, and that's how I find my stuff.
From a more local perspective, I have two apps that I found really helpful. One's called Newsbreak, and it basically gives you like a lot of local news. It goes a lot from the Austin Statesman. It goes from like local newspapers because I'm in Austin. And another app, it's called the Citizen app, which I found so helpful because it's it's the community. The community downloads it. So whatever's happening point 5 miles away from you. So whenever the whole thing at the Austin Library happened, I was walking by there. So I got the notification and everything, and it was like active shooter. So it's really interesting to see those apps that it's like not news, but it keeps the community engaged on what's going on, like at a more fast, I guess. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Well, nobody said an actual news source though, which is interesting to hear.
So yeah, but the news sources have YouTube channels. So that's kind of what I was not like YouTube shorts, like breaking news, like President Trump, which is out, and playing golf or something. Like, no, I don't like that. Like, I feel like it kind of like piques my anxiety. I rather like hear from a journalist, someone that's credible in their field I know that nowadays like journalism has been kind of like, we were just talking about that yesterday, kind of like under huge threat with a lot of misinformation, and everyone now is like independent journalists, and a lot of like conspiracy theories are flying around as credible sources. But no, I look at the actual like news source through their YouTube channel. So yeah. I have like about 30 plus channels that I'm subscribed to. I feel like it's a lot, but it does help. It helps.
I guess in a way, like I'm also I have the New York Times, the Washington Post, but once in a while, so I am left leaning, so once in a while I do indulge myself in a little bit of Truth Social to see what's going on that side.
I was gonna say I use like NPR and stuff like that. A lot of foreign media too, like BBC, I think is also pretty good, even though it can be considered left leaning. Recently, I started looking at like Russian state media and stuff like that and see what they put out, just to kind of see like what they think about us. And it's kind of drastic to see like how much we really don't know about them and how much we think we know about them. And same thing with like China too. That's like a really big issue as well. Yeah, it's like kind of bad sometimes because like translations are like terrible. So you're kind of like.
I have a question on not to like switch the topic, but I realized, or I think that we've all realized that Austin has an ongoing growing population of young adults. A lot of people are relocating here because, there's so many people who are just like working and just trying to achieve their goals and not really like focusing on like, let's say, building a family and stuff like that. They're kind of just like getting through adulthood. I wanted to know from your perspective, what are some policies that are in place or that will be in place that will, benefit the young adult population in Austin, or that will possibly be a challenge?
It's a great question. So a lot of, one, let me just give you the context of what it's like providing policy or doing policy at the local level in Austin is that we are the capital city. So the governor lives in our city. A lot of the legislative staff, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the house, many of the members of the Texas legislature all live in Austin. And that has an impact on how we govern our city, because if someone doesn't agree with our approach for our investments, it can very quickly turn around and write legislation to preempt us, take away our authority to provide that service or to address that issue in a manner which reflects our values. So that is one, the context in which we govern. And I can say that from experience, I've had my own policies preempted by the legislature that I have passed for Austinites. The second thing is that because it's Texas, we have to get creative in how we address problems. So, for example, affordability. That has been an ongoing issue for cities across the nation. In Austin, I would love to be able to enact rent control policies to help provide some type of mechanism to stave off any type of rate shocks that renters can get. but renters don't have that protections, right? I can't pass a rent control policy in Austin because we live in Texas. Yet homeowners, they get a protection in that the valuation in which their home is taxed at can only go up 10% each year. So they have a protection, right? So that, what is not okay is for any policymaker to say, well, we can't do anything. We're going to throw up our hands and just like pretend the problem doesn't exist, because the people who voted you in want you to deliver. They want to see you solving problems. So how we approached affordability was on a couple different lenses. One was housing. So updating our land development code to help encourage different styles of housing to be built. Missing middle housing, these are townhomes and row houses, smaller homes. We are encouraging to be built in the inner city so that people are more connected to transportation, to parks, libraries, the neighborhood amenities. That's been one way we've addressed affordability. Another way that we're addressing affordability is through childcare. And that, I believe, is something that young adults will care about, in that childcare is really expensive. I mean, we have families who are paying $1,200 a month for daycare for one child. And I mean, that's almost tuition level prices for some, and it is. And so we passed an initiative last year countywide to help ensure that we are clearing our childcare wait lists, help provide stipends for childcare educators, and to help provide more high quality, affordable childcare in our city. So those are two ways. Transportation, we're bringing in light rail to Austin. It's taken us a while to get that started, but hopefully it starts next year so that we can see that rail line by 2030. I don't know. But eventually Austinites will have that as an option to get around our city to help reduce transportations.
Folks, I want to be conscientious of our leaders' time. It is 1:00. And so I would just love to give a round of applause to Mayor Pro Tem, to Jacob Calhoun, as well as Ben Gonzalez. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I will be here for a little bit if anybody has questions. Leaders, I know you all have schedules, so please take care of that. But really appreciative of everybody's time. And thank you all.
Let's get a photo.